Not one day goes by that I don't think about her and how I could have saved her. Every night I toss and turn with the guilt of an innocent losing her life, and I wish I could take it back. I have failed my family, my children. Now my children will grow up without their mother and father. I am now a burden to them, whereas I once was a champion for them. I hope to be reunited with them one day, and that my grandma makes it to the other side of my sentence. I pray that the Pointer family can one day find it in their hearts to forgive me, that our Heavenly Father will comfort each one of them in the days, weeks, and years to come, and will heal their hearts and give them peace.
This mother never got to say happy birthday to her daughter, because the night before Alicia Pointer turned 22, 6 people had already decided she was not going to make it out alive, for something she knew absolutely nothing about. And the man who ordered her death did it because of a rumor he never once stopped to verify. Before we get into what happened that night, let me take you back to who Alicia really was, because this story is not just about a crime. It is about a young woman whose only mistake was loving someone who had the wrong enemies. Alicia Pointer was born on November 5, 1999 in Cleveland, Ohio, one of 3 sisters, and her bond with her twin Aaliyah was the kind that her family struggled to put into words. They talked every single day, made small plans together, the kind of ordinary plans that people take for granted, like sharing food, checking in, meeting up. That was their life, and it was a good one. Their mother, Erica Pointer, described Alicia as someone with a caregiver's heart, the kind of person who would give the shirt off her back without a second thought. She was working toward a future in nursing, which surprised nobody who knew her, because taking care of people was simply who she was. Her older sister, Alicia, remembered her the same way, selfless and warm, always making sure the people around her were okay before thinking about herself. She was not involved in any criminal activity and had no enemies. She was just a young woman living her life in East Cleveland, a city that by 2021 had been deeply worn down by poverty, abandoned buildings, and a level of gun violence that had become almost routine. And that last detail, those abandoned buildings, matters more than it might seem right now, so keep it in mind.
It's Leah. It's Alicia, and we'll be doing a sister tag, and we're going to be asking each other questions, and she's going to be answering them, and she's going to ask me questions, and we're going to be answering them. Okay, so what's your favorite color?
Pink. It depends on what type of pink it is though, but what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is maybe a tropical marine blue. I'm kidding, guys. That sounds very illiterate, but it's really a blue, okay? My favorite food is macaroni and cheese and pizza and chicken.
Go.
Oh, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food is broccoli, spinach, and chicken patties, and the list goes on.
So, when were you born?
November 5th, 1999.
Okay. When was I born? November 5th, 1999. Because what? We're twins. Okay.
Now, 2 days before Alicia disappeared, on November 2nd, 2021, a 19-year-old named Aminjas Zion Shomo was shot and killed on Goodman Avenue in Cleveland's Slavic Village neighborhood around 1 in the afternoon on a residential street in broad daylight. He was found on the sidewalk, shot in the abdomen, and pronounced dead shortly after at Metro Health Medical Center. Aminjas was young, and by every account from his family, he had been genuinely working to turn his life around. His grandfather had spoken with him the day before his death, and Aminjas had been talking about school, his future, and the baby boy his girlfriend was expecting in January. His mother called him her angel. His death was ruled a homicide, and no arrests were ever made. A $5,000 reward was offered for information, and as of today, that case is still unsolved, which is one of the most painful undercurrents running beneath this entire story. Now, Aminjas was related to a man named Hakim Ali Shomo, with some reports describing them as nephew and uncle, and others saying brothers, though what is confirmed is that they were close, and that Shomo was completely devastated by the loss. When Aminjas was killed, Shomo and the people around him were consumed by grief. And grief, when it is left alone with rage and no patience for the truth, has a way of finding someone to blame regardless of whether that person is actually responsible. Shomo became convinced, based on nothing more than rumor and assumption, that Alicia Pointer's boyfriend was the one who had killed Aminjas. Prosecutors would later confirm repeatedly and clearly on the record that there was zero evidence linking the boyfriend to that murder. He was never a suspect and never investigated. The accusation was completely baseless, built entirely on what appears to have been community gossip in the aftermath of an unsolved shooting. But Shomo did not wait for proof, and that decision would destroy multiple lives, starting with Alicia's. His plan was not to confront the boyfriend directly. Instead, Shomo decided to use Alicia as leverage, to grab her, hold her, and use her suffering to force the boyfriend to come forward. They described it in their own words as using her as ransom. On the evening of November 4th, 2021, Shomo organized a group that included Anthony Bryant, Brittany Smith, Portria Williams, Nathaniel Polk, and Destiny Henderson, and that night Williams drove them to a residence near Glenmont Road and Superior Road in East Cleveland. They did not go straight for Alicia. First, they pulled two other women off the street entirely at gunpoint, a 25-year-old and a 21-year-old who had nothing to do with any of this, grabbing them simply because Shomo's group needed guides to locate Alicia. Once they found her, they took her at gunpoint, releasing the two other women unharmed before transporting Alicia to Portria Williams' home, where she would be held through the night and into the next morning. What happened inside that house is the kind of thing that makes a courtroom go completely quiet.
I want to basically say to the family of the deceased that it ain't nothing I can say right now to bring her back, but my condolences to y'all. And y'all can hate me or my daughter all you want. I got the call. And basically my daughter called me and saying she was in some trouble and some people got her in some mess. Instantly I was on defend mode and I already heard what was going on about the missing girl. So as I approached my daughter, I said, we need her back. So where's she at? My first thing was trying to put hands on her, because I don't like that. We ain't raised her to be like that. We ain't brought her up to be in the streets like that. But, you know, stuff happens, but I think I approached it too late. I could have saved her. I was on, let's go get her. And she told me, Dad, they killed her. So what you got yourself into? I tried. I ended up calling the police, and we was there at the house. I wish my daughter probably would, I wish she ain't even been in that situation with a group of people. I don't know what's going on. It's a big circus with a bunch of people playing reindeer games.
Shomo, Smith, and Bryant began assaulting Alicia that night, demanding information she simply did not have about a murder she had no connection to whatsoever. They beat her and bound her with duct tape. One of them forced a gun down her throat. And through all of it, Alicia could not give them what they wanted, not because she was protecting anyone, but because she genuinely knew nothing. Brittany Smith, who was left in charge after Shomo slipped out to establish an alibi at a nearby convenience store, reportedly called the whole ordeal a surprise party, fully aware that it was Alicia's birthday. That detail alone tells you everything you need to know about the mindset inside that room, and it is the kind of thing that stays with you long after you have finished reading about this case. When morning came on November 5th, the day Alicia was supposed to celebrate turning 22, they put her in a car and drove her to an abandoned house near Savannah Avenue and Manhattan Avenues. Before we get to what happened inside that abandoned house, you need to understand who these 6 people were and how they each ended up involved in this, because this was not a random group of strangers. These were people connected to each other, to the grief over Aminja's death, and to Hakeem Ali Shomo's decision to do something about it. Anthony Bryant was 18 years old, barely out of adolescence, and he was among the people Shomo brought into the plot. Court records would later describe him as the group's chief executioner. Portria Williams was 29, and her connection to this case was deeply personal in a way that sets her apart from the others. She was Aminja Shomo's girlfriend and was pregnant with his child at the time of his death, which means she was carrying his baby while simultaneously participating in what was done to Alicia. Her home was where Alicia was taken and held through the night, which was not a coincidence. Brittany Smith was 31, and she came into the picture after the abduction had already happened, arriving at Williams' home during the night as someone brought in specifically to oversee what was being done to Alicia while Shomo was elsewhere. Nathaniel Polk was 21, and what makes his involvement particularly painful when you understand the full picture is that he was someone Aaliyah, Alicia's twin sister, actually knew and trusted. He was part of the group from the very beginning of the night, present for the initial abduction, and he knew exactly what was happening to Alicia the entire time. Now, with that picture in mind, here is what those 6 people did on the morning of November 5th. Henderson, Smith, Williams, and Bryant forced Alicia, who by that point had been beaten and restrained through the entire night, into a vehicle and drove to the abandoned property near Savannah and Manhattan Avenues. Once inside, they positioned her in a doorway. Bryant fired first, emptying his entire magazine into her body, and when Williams noticed Alicia was still breathing, Bryant took Williams' gun and fired again until she was not. Henderson attempted to shoot as well, but her gun jammed. After that, the group fled to Shomo's residence, where he had been waiting with his alibi already in place. And for 4 days, nobody outside of that group knew what had happened to Alicia Pointer. Her family had been searching for her since the night she disappeared. Aaliyah had been making calls, reaching out to people she trusted, including Nathaniel Polk, who she considered a friend and who she knew had connections to the people Alicia had been around. Every time she reached him, he told her he did not know anything. He kept that up even after he knew she was already dead. What broke the case open was Destiny Henderson. After the group left that abandoned house on Savannah Avenue, Henderson contacted her father and told him what had happened. Her father, recognizing immediately how serious this was, encouraged her to go to the police, and Henderson reached out to East Cleveland Police and led investigators directly to where Alicia's body was. That cooperation was the reason investigators were able to locate Alicia on November 9th, 4 days after she was killed, and it was the thread that allowed law enforcement to begin pulling the entire case apart. Once police had the location and Henderson's account of what had happened, the East Cleveland Police Department, working alongside the FBI, moved quickly. Henderson's statements gave investigators a picture of who was involved, what roles each person had played, and where the group had gone afterward. And that information drove the arrests that followed in the weeks after Alicia's body was found. The FBI's involvement expanded the reach of the investigation beyond East Cleveland's jurisdiction, which proved critical when it came to tracking down Shomo, who had left Ohio entirely. Alicia was pronounced dead from multiple gunshot wounds, her body found in the rubble of a burned-out basement in the kind of forgotten building that East Cleveland has far too many of. And she had been lying there for 4 full days while her mother was losing her mind with grief and her twin sister was being lied to by one of the very people responsible. All 6 suspects were arrested between November and December of 2021, with the last one, Shomo himself, tracked down and apprehended in Kentucky after evading police in Ohio. In June of 2022, a grand jury returned indictments on charges including aggravated murder, kidnapping, felonious assault, and conspiracy, with Henderson and Polk pleading guilty in December of that year and agreeing to cooperate with the prosecution, followed by Williams in March of 2023. The other 3, Shomo, Bryant, and Smith, proceeded to trial in March of 2023, and then something went wrong that nobody in Alicia's family had been prepared for. The presiding judge, John J. Russo, declared a mistrial after court staff accidentally sent procedural communications only to the prosecution and not to defense attorneys, a violation of the rules that govern how judges and lawyers are permitted to communicate. Russo recused himself. The defense filed motions arguing that retrying the 3 defendants would violate their constitutional protections against being tried twice for the same crime, and those motions were denied and then upheld on appeal, which meant the family had to keep waiting while the legal process worked itself through. It took until 2025 before new trials could begin, meaning Alicia's family carried this unfinished weight for nearly 4 years after her death. When the retrials finally came in late 2025, things moved with a decisiveness that the earlier proceedings had lacked. Smith pled guilty mid-trial in October to aggravated murder and conspiracy, sparing the court a full verdict on her case. On October 31st, a jury convicted Anthony Bryant on 2 counts of aggravated murder, 3 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, 2 counts of kidnapping, 1 count of conspiracy, and a weapons charge, completing the full circle of accountability that had started nearly 4 years earlier with Alicia's disappearance. Sentencing for Shomo, Bryant, and Smith came on January 7, 2026, and 2 days later, Williams, Polk, and Henderson appeared before Judge Molly Ann Murphy for theirs. Before any sentence was imposed, Alicia's family was given the chance to speak directly to the court, and what they said in that room is the kind of testimony that makes everything else in a case like this feel secondary.
Hi, my name is Alicia. It's Alayssha Pointer. I'm Alicia's older sister. I didn't have nothing, written down. I'm just going off strictly my emotion. Growing up, when you're the older sister, you're always compelled to take care of and to protect your siblings. And I can't count on my hand how many times I've protected my siblings from danger. And in this instant, it felt like this, and it was one of those things that were out of my hands that I couldn't get here in time. I couldn't be here to save my sister. And I wake up to the thought of that every day because I spent 21 years protecting my siblings as the older sister. Every day I wake up, it was me, my mom, Aaliyah, and Alicia, always in that house. It's unreal that it's me, my mom, and Aaliyah. It's always been 4 of us, and I don't know how to explain watching my mom grieve. I don't know how to explain watching my sister grieve. And even then, while I'm grieving, I still feel compelled to protect my family, their emotions during this time. My sister was somebody that would have gave the shirt off her back. My sister has helped many people with their children. My sister has helped many people take care of their children, find their children, bring their children to safety. So for somebody to come take my mother's child will never sit right with me. And with my sister passing, it's opened my eyes to so much, not just physically, but spiritually. And in knowledge that my sister may be physically gone, I see her every day spiritually. And she tells me that everything gonna be all right. That not only is she with God, but she always here. You can take somebody physically, but you can't take them spiritually. And she gonna always be here with us through everything that we've been through these last 4 years and beyond. I just
take your time. Oh, you're fine. Take your time.
My sister, like my mother said, my sister saw the good in everybody. Even if they was the worst type of person. My sister didn't see you for how other people saw you. She saw you for how she felt about you, for what you were capable of, even when you didn't see it. My sister was somebody that was working on herself. She was getting ready to start her business. Getting ready. She was starting her dental business. My sister wanted to sell clothes. My sister had so much she wanted to do. And she was on the verge of getting it done. And that was stripped away from her. Her life was stripped away from her. Her life was stripped away from her family. everything that she wanted to do was stripped away from her. Nobody considered anything when approaching my sister with a situation like this. You know, no one considered the aftermath. No one thought twice about it. And now we're here today with the aftermath. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alicia Pointer described what losing Alicia had done to her body, to her sense of herself as a mother, and to every milestone that came after. She said she lost 20 pounds and that all her hair fell out. Alicia, Alicia's older sister, spoke about how she was raised to see the worth in every person, and she found herself in that courtroom asking how anyone could look at her sister and fail to recognize what she was. And then Aaliyah spoke, the twin, the one who had called Polk on their birthday in a panic, not knowing he was one of the people responsible for where her sister was, and her statement was the rawest thing said by anyone across the entire proceedings. Then it was the defendants' turn, and what each of them said, or chose not to say, told its own story about who they were and what they understood about what they had done. Brittany Smith walked into the courtroom carrying a Bible and addressed the family directly. She acknowledged that her silence during those hours had cost Alicia her life, and she was the only one of the three who offered anything resembling a genuine accounting of her own choices. Nathaniel Polk also addressed the court, expressing remorse and asking for forgiveness, though Aaliyah had already made clear in her own statement exactly what his betrayal had meant to her. Destiny Henderson, the youngest of the group at 17 when this happened, read a prepared statement. Portria Williams spoke in court as well, though her words were difficult to follow and left many in the room uncertain about whether she was genuinely accepting responsibility or not. Her grief was real, and the court acknowledged that, but it did not change what she had done with it. Hakeem Ali Shomo said nothing. He stood before the court in silence, and not one member of his family spoke on his behalf, which, given everything the court had heard about his role as the person who set all of this in motion, said more than any statement could have. The sentences handed down reflected the totality of what the court had witnessed across 3 trials and 4 years of proceedings, and they were severe in a way that matched the severity of what had been done. Hakeem Ali Shomo, the man who organized everything and built himself an alibi while Alicia was being killed, received life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 36 to 41 and a half years on top of that, which in practical terms means he will die in prison regardless of any future legal proceedings. Anthony Bryant, the 18-year-old who fired the shots and then used a second gun to make sure Alicia did not survive, also received life without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 17 to 22 and a half years, meaning the same outcome applies to him regardless of what happens in the years ahead. Brittany Smith, who supervised the torture and stood by while Alicia was beaten and bound through the night, received life in prison with the possibility of parole after 41 to 45 years, a sentence that accounts for her guilty plea but does not minimize what she chose to allow. Portria Williams, who provided the location, participated in the assault in her own home, drove Alicia to the murder site, and was one of the shooters, received life with parole eligibility after 23 years, with her early cooperation and testimony factored into the agreed sentence. Nathaniel Polk, who participated in the abduction and then lied repeatedly to Aaliyah while she searched for her sister, received 23 to 28 years, also reflecting his cooperation with prosecutors throughout the proceedings. Destiny Henderson, the 17-year-old who held the gun at the start of the night and was present at the end of it, received 25 to 30 years, with her early cooperation and the fact that she was the one who led police to Alicia's body taken into account by the court. No fines were imposed on any of the defendants, and all received credit for time already served. Prosecutor Michael O'Malley, who had been with this case from the very beginning, said at sentencing that few murders in his experience had reached the level of brutality seen in Alicia's killing, and that the people responsible had demonstrated a complete absence of anything resembling human decency toward another person. Here is what this case leaves you sitting with, long after the verdicts and the sentencing hearings have closed. Aminjus Zion Shomo's murder, the one that Hakeem Ali Shomo used to justify everything he set in motion, is still unsolved. And Alicia's boyfriend, the Anne entire nightmare was supposedly organized around, was never investigated, arrested, and charged with anything related to Aminjus's death, because there was never any evidence connecting him to it in the first place. What do you think about this case? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.
I asked the family if there's anybody to forgive. Henceforth, he not even supposed to be locked. Nobody really knew anything that he was. They was just scared. But I see that he did it or he did it. There's a lot of things that people don't know what he's doing when he did it. It was more so in policy, and then it became force. And see, in when later, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. And everything started from more injustice for vengeance. And now since we all are in this predicament, between the three of us, we the only ones that still feel like justice was supposed to accept. That's how we chose to see. That's what I chose to see. I understand that in the process, during the time, I was pretty. This was something new. Never did anything like this, never even experienced my own child, to be quite honest. So for the fact that life was taken in my hands as I brother life did, my son was taken from me. And still unfortunately, like, y'all don't have to promise the issue. Y'all won't have that chance. To see my son, but not the way that I would want to. I understand the way that everybody feels this. I feel the same way, just for a different reason. I'm not asking for forgiveness, not even understanding, but I am asking us to forgive me.
Hi, my name is Alicia. It's Alayssha Pointer. I'm Alicia's older sister. I didn't have nothing, written down. I'm just going on strictly my emotion. Growing up, when you're the older sister, you're always compelled to take care of and to protect your siblings. And I can't count how on my hand how many times I've protected my siblings from danger. And in this instant, it felt like this, and it was one of those things that were out of my hands that I couldn't get here in time. I couldn't be here to save my sister. And I wake up to the thought of that every day because I spent 21 years protecting my siblings as the older sister. Every day I wake up, it was me, my mom, Aaliyah, and Alicia, always in that house. It's unreal that it's me, my mom, and Aaliyah. It's always been four of us, and I don't know how to explain watching my mom grieve. I don't know how to explain watching my sister grieve. And even then, while I'm grieving, I still feel compelled to protect my family, their emotions during this time. My sister was somebody that would have gave the shirt off her back. My sister has helped many people with their children. My sister has helped many people take care of their children, find their children, bring their children to safety. So for somebody to come take my mother's child will never sit right with me. And with my sister passing, it's opened my eyes to so much, not just physically, but spiritually. And in knowledge that my sister may be physically gone, I see her every day spiritually. And she tells me that everything gonna be all right. That not only is she with God, but she always here. You know, you can take somebody physically, but you can't take them spiritually. And she gonna always be here with us through everything that we've been through these last 4 years and beyond. I just
Take your time. Oh, you're fine. Take your time.
You know, my sister, like my mother said, my sister saw the good in everybody. Even if they was the worst type of person. My sister didn't see you for how other people saw you. She saw you for how she felt about you, for what you were capable of, even when you didn't see it. You know, my sister was somebody that was working on herself. She was getting ready to start her business. You know, getting ready. She was starting her dental business. You know, my sister wanted to sell clothes. My sister had so much she wanted to do. And she was on the verge of getting it done. And that was stripped away from her. Her life was stripped away from her. Her life was stripped away from her family. Everything that she wanted to do was stripped away from her. Nobody considered anything when approaching my sister with a situation like this. You know, no one considered the aftermath. No one thought twice about it. And now we're here today with the aftermath. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you please state and spell your name for the court reporter?
Chanel Rudolph, CHANELLE, Rudolph, RUDOLPH.
And whenever you're ready.
You know, the situation I'm on is just overtaking for everyone. Emotions is very high. I do apologize for the victim's family, first and foremost. And like my mom and my aunt and my sister and everyone touch bases, everyone is affected by the decisions that was made amongst everyone. Let alone my nephew. He's a good kid. And he had dreams as well. And decided to go down the decision path where he was influenced, like people said. He's an amazing kid. And just to be thrown into the light of seeing something of an image that was never portrayed, to see out of him is the most, it's the hardest thing to watch. But they say life with parole is it's too long. It's too long, and I know it's going to be longer for their family as well, but it's time that we all cannot give back. And I do feel like he does deserve a second chance because he's not a bad kid. And he does deserve an opportunity to show you guys as well to the potential rehabilitation that he does have with the sentence, but life with parole it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, and I truly am sorry for the Pointer family. And words cannot bring her back at all. That's all I do have to say.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. Anything further?
Reckless people, heartless people, and they don't need to be out here doing this to people like this. So angry, and this happened to an innocent person, and they just start to leave my best friend away from me. God be with you. God got you in His arms.
And suffering she endured, but she's free now. and live forever.